Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and yes, of course, continuing on with, reviewing, the Star Trek films, the Star Trek Marathon, and now we've come to the final, Star Trek film with, the Next Generation crew, and this time, I've got with me my good friend Elijah Goring, who is joining me reviewing Star Trek Nemesis, and it's good to have you for the Star Trek Marathon.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So he is joining me reviewing Star Trek Nemesis, and which this happens to be my all-time favorite Star Trek film. And number two, of course, being Wrath of Khan, which I know I did mention in my review of Wrath of Khan. But anyways, so let's start with you, Elijah. Like, what do you first have to say about Nemesis?
That's a good question. Oh my God, yeah. The movie was I when I first saw this movie, I thought it was intriguing. It was really good, but sadly, the box office wasn't that great. It got beat by Made in Manhattan with Jennifer Lopez, and well, that movie was number one in the box office. Well, because it's a Christmas movie, and Star Trek Nemesis came out December 15th. I think it's the same day as Made in Manhattan in the same year. And and
And
about
it came
Paramount.
ended. I was just gonna say, and it came out the same month, and somewhere right around when Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers came out.
Yeah, I think one of those days. I think. And getting back to what I said.
Yeah.
But for the studio of Paramount Pictures, and I remember watching Paramount 90th anniversary on this film. And on its debut, it's only one movie has like the rare 90th anniversary version of Paramount Pictures, and I would say Paramount 90th anniversary. Well, I love Paramount Pictures so much because my first debut with the 90th anniversary logo, I would say a movie called Changing Lanes with Ben Affleck and Samuel L. Jackson and a few other films, especially this movie, which is kind of rare that Paramount 90th anniversary is doing, and only on this film. I think that was one of the last movies that Paramount Pictures, in fact, Paramount 90th anniversary has done. And Paramount Pictures been going on for like ever. And Paramount Pictures is part of. Actually, Star Trek is a trademark with Paramount.
Yes. Yeah. Especially because around like the like when the movies first started, so that and but yeah, and so Star Trek Nemesis, because again, for this being the final and last Star Trek film with the Next Generation crew, and because this time it centers on the Romulans and Romulus and the new like aliens we see in this, the Remans, and the main antagonist, Praetor Shinzon, played by Tom Hardy. You know what? Tom Hardy I think he was fantastic as the clone slash younger version of Jean-Luc Picard, and because we do find out because the origin and how Shinzon came to be, and apparently because according to Shinzon, the Romulans had somehow gained access to Picard's DNA, and there's a good theory on that. From an episode of Next Generation Unification, where Picard, disguised as Romulan, eating soup. That's what I heard. But Shinzon being taken in by, his viceroy, played by Ron Perlman, and it's great, because Ron Perlman being in the Star Trek universe, it's Ron Perlman, and he's one of those master actors of, being in makeup and such, from Hellboy and The Beast from the Beauty and the Beast series, yeah, and like also. I'm trying to remember, also in this, like Riker and Troy, they had just gotten married, and very soon, like Riker to be captain as well. But and for one last time, being first officer of the Enterprise E. And also in this, we get, of course, this was all a trap for the Enterprise E crew, B4. Data's other brother, and. Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. And, because, like, say, the music in this is great, too, by the late, great Jerry Goldsmith, with its action sequences. That's another thing, too, because I feel like, some people say that, Nemesis had too much action in it, but I don't care. I mean, come on. There's nothing wrong with Star Trek having action to it. Oh my gosh, there was a lot of action in, say, in Deep Space Nine when the Dominion War happened. And, fun fact, because, according to Nemesis, and especially I think Riker is the one that says this, that during the Dominion War, the Remans were used for something in the position of the Dominion War. I don't know what it is, but and the thing is, I found out about this that the Remans were like made up as like the look of them and the design of them was like almost like say space vampires, and also the Nosferatu being heavily involved, like the inspiration for their looks. So there's that, and I'm trying to remember what else, but and we'll come back to you, Elijah. Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised that Patrick Stewart was in this movie, but yeah, he did a great job, very well. Everyone knows him from the X-Men movies, and especially Tom Hardy from Venom movies, and Real Perlman from Sons of Anarchy and Hellboy. Well, I saw that movie a long time ago. And
Yeah.
LeVar Burton is. I was surprised that LeVar Burton was in this movie. And and
Well,
you're right.
yeah.
I think it's one of the last Star Trek generations.
Yes, it
And
is.
I think it came out the same. For Star Trek, it came out the same year as Enterprise on UPN. I mean, it's one
Well,
of the
yeah.
best shows on television.
Enterprise first started in 2001, and of course it continued on even after when Nemesis came out.
Yeah, I think it's the second season actually. And another
Yeah.
thing, yeah, actually. But getting back to, like I said, I remember about this movie about Nemesis. I want to talk about my memories about the situation for a while. I remember that my mom used to watch this movie when I was a kid. At first I wasn't a fan of Star Trek, but I'll see what it is. I found Star Trek very interesting,
Yeah.
but but the thing is, my mom practically, my mom. I remember. I very, I'm very confident about this, but I remember my mother buying Star Trek Nemesis on DVD when it came out, or somewhere in 2004, like after 2003. The DVD and video release came out in the spring of 2003,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember that time that my mom brought the movie on DVD in 2004, like somewhere in the spring, and I remember I remember the DVD very well, and I mean the DVD was like the DVD cover was green, especially the Paramount DVD logo actually was green. Okay, and I grew up like I said, I grew up watching Paramount Pictures movies, and I think the Star Trek this movie is one of the best. I think it's one of the last Paramount 90th anniversary movies under Paramount Pictures banner.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think the whole studio thing about Paramount Pictures, because I know Star Trek is from Paramount, and Star Wars is from Disney and 20th Century Fox in the past, and I thought the situation can be a little unique, but anyway, about the DVDs, about the home entertainment release. I remember my mom brought that movie at Hollywood Video or Blockbuster, one of them. I remember, and my mom and I saw this years ago, and I thought it was pretty cool, and it was really interesting, and I have a strong memory of watching this movie, and my childhood, and this movie. In fact, this movie is part of my childhood actually, and when I got involved with it, it was my mother, and I haven't seen this movie for like a very long time, and but that movie came out in 2002, but it came out in Christmas time. It should have came out like in the summer or something, or January, not January 2002, like I would say July 2002. It would be better for the summer, but not
Yeah.
Christmas. But it's very disappointing that I heard this movie I saw it. In my opinion, it was good, and
Yeah.
a lot of critics didn't like it because they talking shit about it.
I know. Yeah. And another thing is like what do I want to mention it? Well, here's another thing. Like, even like say there wasn't that much for some of the characters. Most notably, like there wasn't that much done for say Worf and Dr. Crusher and Geordi. Just nothing. Like it was mostly like say Picard and Data, and then and
Mhm.
Riker and Troy. And also one big thing that people couldn't stand about this was uh, even at the time when it was released, Data's death, because him sacrificing himself and destroying the Riemann ship. But you know what? Star Trek Picard solved that problem. It shaping things up for giving Data a proper, send off and death and so on. And another thing is, I mean, there was almost going to be plans for one more Star Trek film with the Next Generation crew, but not just with the Next Generation crew, but also with say some cast from DS9 and Voyager. But because sadly, Nemesis it failed at the box office.
Yeah.
The plans for one more Star Trek film, which would have been the fifth next generation Star Trek film with the Next Generation crew, that didn't happen. And yeah, and that marked Nemesis being the for now last Star Trek film until 7 years later when Star Trek would come back. But more on Nemesis, like some stuff that I didn't mention, like when they arrive on that like desert planet, near I guess the Romulan outpost or something, and that jeep, that whole sequence where they're riding in a jeep and recovering before in that chase scene, that was pretty good. And the director of this film, I'm familiar with him because
Mhm.
Stewart Brad, if I'm saying his last name right. Like, are you? I don't know if you'd be familiar with him, but other stuff that he's mostly like I guess a film editor and such. But some films that he has directed, like he had directed, like I'm pulling it up. Like, well, yeah. So he's been an editor mostly for a lot of films. Like I'm looking at it on the IMDb page, like Superman, Casino Royale, and
Mhm.
Skyfall. But some films that he's directed, if it's gonna show. Oh yeah, so he's only directed three movies as I see. Like of course Star Trek Nemesis, but he's also directed U.S. Marshals, that is a sequel to The Fugitive, and also The Executive Decision. So those are the other two movies that he directed. And
Mhm.
and the thing is, like Stewart was not familiar at all with Star Trek, but and he even like mispronounced LeVar Burton's name. Ouch! And he even mistaken his character LaForge as an alien because of the eyes, but. He's a blind man with like cybernetic stuff to his eyes, so that and other stuff I'm trying to remember, like oh yeah, like Shinzon and also his viceroy, they're like trying to communicate and trying to get inside of Troy's mind and her head, because she is half Betazoid. And also we also get a cameo from this time now an admiral, Catherine Janeway, of course played by Kate Mulgrew, reprising her role once again as Janeway. Originally, because Seven of Nine from Voyager was going to be one of the main characters of this film and taking Troy's place, but of course that kind of didn't make any sense for her to be there because like she had never been with the Next Generation crew, and things seemed to work out okay when I guess they managed to find a way to because of Marina Sirtis's contract, etc. But
Mhm.
even like say Luxana Troy was almost planning to appear in this film, but um, Majel Barrett couldn't appear and was unavailable due because she did something else. And also that whole battle sequence in the like green neutral cloud or whatever it is, like the Enterprise, and along with two Romulan vessels fighting off against the Riemann ship, and even like say one sequence where Data breaks out Picard, and that was a pretty cool scene too. And trying to figure out how to open the shuttle bay of the Riemann ship.
Hmm.
It had some funny moments too, and you know what? Star Trek's no stranger to having funny moments, and even including, say, at the wedding where Data sings "Blue Skies" and like Worf just not having a good time, and it's funny. And I'm trying to remember what else. Like, yeah, even like say as they're hijacking one of like the Riemann like shuttles, and like Data says to Picard, "Would you like me to drive?" And Picard just looks at him and he's like, "I've got this. Are you serious, Data?" Um, yeah, yeah, that's for right now. That's my bet. That because I try to do a Patrick Stewart impression, so. Anyways, but come back to you, Elijah. Anything else to say?
Yeah, man. The thing is about this movie, I thought, it's so weird that this movie was a disaster, but I wouldn't say it like a
Yeah,
disaster. It was a flop. The box office was a flop, but
yeah.
it's a really challenging movie to make.
Exactly. And because
Director.
I was just gonna say, and for this being the final Star Trek movie with the Next Generation crew.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember that very well. But it's. I mean, I was surprised that Patrick Stewart was in the movie. I known him from the X-Men movies, the X-Men trilogy.
Yeah, and he
And base.
he
Yeah,
had he had been part of him and the rest of the cast. They had been part of Star Trek since the Next Generation. The show from
yeah,
1987, and they're on.
yeah. Another thing, listen. He's one of the best actors I ever known in my life,
Oh
and
yes,
I know he's in Star Trek Picard for only one season, and it's so funny
and
that nobody don't
for
talk. I mean,
season two.
I don't mean to cut you off, but nobody don't talk about that. Like, they only talk about Discovery with Anthony Rapp and stuff like that. But I think fans. I feel like this movie. I feel like this movie wasn't that bad. I know it's very underrated, but it's so funny. I never seen a Paramount Pictures underrated film, but I really, I've been a fan. I grew up watching Paramount all my life, and I've been a fan of Paramount Pictures ever since I was a kid. When I got involved with Paramount, not the shows but the movies. I think my first Paramount Pictures movie with the yeah, I know I said the 90th anniversary part, but Paramount Pictures in general. My first movie, I would say the Rugrats movie. I remember, and when I got involved with the studio, I think it was the Nick Jr. VHS and DVDs and Nickelodeon videos and DVDs and stuff like that. But Blue's Clues when I got that I remember Blue's Clues. That was actually Paramount distributed the home entertainment releases of Blue's Clues and stuff like that. Nick Jr. and Nickelodeon videos and DVDs and videos. I remember very well. But I remember logo changing and stuff like that because I think Star Trek is part of Paramount's family because
Yes,
it's sci-fi. It's a sci-fi genre, and
exactly.
Star Trek. It's been going on for like years and years, like decades. I would say that sounds weird, but I say decades and years. But Star Trek been going on for like a very long time, and some well, it depends on people's opinions, And I was in shock that this movie was a disaster because of the situation. Cause the whole scenario was messed up, and how a movie in the box office was a disaster, and like you said about the situation of the Enterprise or the young, not the young, but the new generation was it failed and everything wasn't that well, but
Yeah.
Made in Manhattan beat that movie number one, and a lot of people went to see Made in Manhattan because Jennifer Lopez, because it's an interesting story. I love that movie though. I ain't gonna lie,
Maybe we ought
but
to maybe we ought to review that sometime.
exactly. But I don't think Star Trek was a bad movie. I mean, Star Trek Nemesis. Sorry,
Nemesis.
was
Yeah.
Nemesis. Thank you. Star Trek Nemesis. I don't think that movie wasn't a bad movie. It
Same
was
here.
okay,
Same
but
here.
it could have been better because of the whole concept is
Yeah.
messing up and the failing and the box office was a disaster because the studio, you know, the studio make mistakes. That's another thing, you know. But in my heart, I love Paramount Pictures and Paramount 90th anniversary, and this is, I think, in my opinion, what I see, I think this movie is one of the last Paramount 90th anniversary movies ever.
Yeah, I mean, even throughout, like, say, the year 2002, yeah, the movies of Paramount that came out during that year, because they had in celebration of Paramount's 90th anniversary, obviously.
Yeah, that studio's been going on for like 200 years now. But
Two
like in the
hundred, 200,
past,
200 years?
something like that, or
Okay.
150 years. But anyway,
Yes,
but I
I'd
thought,
say so.
well, anyway, like I said, in the past, I was talking about in the past. But it's weird that Paramount changing their logos for over the years, and I found Paramount 90th anniversary logo was so intriguing. My favorite thing. I love the filmed version instead of the home video and DVD release. I love the film version, like on the big screen, watching it in the big screen and see stars flying around and
Oh, yeah.
hovering the mountain, and go beyond hovering the mountain and the script. And when that's how the logo is. The new logo starts coming out, it's like out of the screen, and you see the camera zooming out of the Paramount script, and stars are circling the mountain. And when it stops circling the mountain, the stars stop circling the mountain. You see the 90th anniversary alongside with the Viacom byline, and in 2003, the logo was the same, but they removed the 90th anniversary.
Yeah.
I thought that idea was so intriguing. I love that idea of a logo like that. The like 2002 and 2003, but Paramount, like in 2002, Paramount Pictures movies are very unique, but the studio has been going on for like in 2002, the studio has been going on for like 90 years. They celebrated 90 years of the studio because they make good movies and underrated films, but Star Trek, and getting back to Star Trek, but Star Trek is Paramount Pictures family, and Star Trek been going on for a long, long time, and people like Star Trek, love it, and they hate it. It's a mixed bag, but
Yeah.
I think this movie wasn't that bad in my opinion, but it's very very intriguing, but it came out the same month as Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, and Made in Manhattan, actually. But I mean, I think Star Trek Nemesis could have been better, as I thought, because of the action sequences and stuff like that, and the sci-fi and action sequences both.
Yeah, and back on to me, because just a few more things that almost forgot to mention. Like, the ending to it was I think was not bad, and like right after Data's death, because a ceremony in memory of Data, and a little mentioning of the events of Next Generation, and including the first episode, Encounter at Farpoint, when Riker first met Data, and when Picard and Riker having their last conversation, and Riker now becoming captain of the USS Titan. That, and like, according to Patrick Stewart, because because the dialogue, and when Riker says it's been an honor serving with you, and Picard was supposed to say, "No, number one, the honor was mine," and Patrick Stewart could not say that because he kept crying over that, because it was quite emotional, because this was coming to an end for him and the Next Generation cast. They've been doing this since 1987, and then up to 2002. So for now, back in 2002, for now, when it was the last time they would be in Star Trek and doing something in Star Trek, and some of the deleted scenes in the film, I remember some, like one with Wesley Crusher. Apparently he's now back in Starfleet, and Will Wheaton making a cameo, although he is still in the film. And even Whoopi Goldberg, she made an uncredited cameo as Guinan, and there was also apparently, like, I'm trying to remember, like Shinzon showing up in the Enterprise elevator, and like having Troy, cornered, etc. But that was changed, and as we saw in the movie, and there was a scene where Picard contacts Crusher because she's in the medical academy and so on. Well, something like that. I can't remember, but it has to do something with medical and so on. But and also. an ending to an alternate ending, kind of, where um, the new first officer of the Enterprise E and Picard tests this out on his captain's chair, that for any whenever it goes like into battle stations, like the his captain's chair like kind of holds him or just something, and like even like Picard saying it's about time. So that, and God, I forgot to mention like more of the battle between the Riemann ship and the Enterprise. Like one thing is like the Riemanns, they board the Enterprise E, and Worf and Riker facing off against the Riemanns up to when Riker faces off against the Viceroy, and the Viceroy does get killed by falling to his death. You hear a small thud, and even at one point, the Riemann ship fires at the Enterprise screen. Like, that's crazy that, that a ship would have done that to a starship, or any ship in Star Trek, fire below the screen, and, trying to remember. Oh yeah, and because again, Data sacrificing himself, and this was never like this was never seen in anything of Star Trek with the Next Generation cast. Data being in space because he's an android, and of course he'll be okay out in space, but and and coming to the ending where the last sequence with Picard, and I almost said Data, but Picard and B4. And at one point, like right after Picard talks with Before, because Before, as I mentioned, like he had a big part in this, and like it was all a trap, and the Riemanns had to do something with Before, and Before like hacking into the systems of the Enterprise E, and Data having to shut off Before. And some people have speculated because right before Picard leaves his reading room, and after he talks with Before starts singing like what Data sang, "Blue Skies," and some people have speculated, including myself, and I know my dad too, that Little Blue, of course, aka who's my dad, that were wondering that what if, like, say it was very similar, like what happened with Spock, where Data would have transferred his functions and such, his memories into Before, and Before would become the new body for Data. Some people have speculated that, but apparently they are wrong. But I still don't understand it. Like, I still don't know. And even like say when the comic book the comic book countdown to the first Star Trek film in the Kelvin timeline, where we see the prequel, like what happened before Nero and Spock went into the black hole, because Data was captain of the Enterprise E, while Picard was ambassador of Vulcan, and Geordi had his own like engineering kind of company, I guess you could say. And yeah, and yet when Picard happened, the series, Data was dismantled. What's the word I'm looking for? Like taken apart and such. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So that, and I don't know. Like it was never really explained like on the show, but maybe because at one point something went wrong with Data, and because in the series Picard, there was the incident that happened on Mars, but I don't know, like, I'd probably have to look this up some more, but I will say, the ending to Nemesis was not that bad, and we get one last shot of Picard as he's walking through the halls, and yeah, and even when, say, the Enterprise E is in docking bay and being repaired after the damage it went through during the battle with the Riemann ship, and, also, one thing about Shinzon is, because he was, through a process, like, he was slowly dying, and he had to get some of Picard's blood, but, he didn't care, and he proceeded on with a mission that he and the Riemanns were doing, I guess that had to do with them on their way to Sector 001, at Earth, but, and it was nice that also some of the Romulans in this were actually good Romulans, and, they help out the Enterprise E, and the Captain Picard earned a Romulan friend in the Romulan Empire. That was cool. But you know what? With all that being said, Star Trek Nemesis, again, is my all-time favorite Star Trek film. And I enjoy it. It's really good. And I don't care if this turned out bad. You know what I'm saying? I do enjoy it. And any last words to say on Nemesis and to wrap things up?
Yeah, but yeah, thank you for inviting me about the situation. Um, I thought of oh oh God, I thought of Nemesis. It wasn't that bad, but I don't care what people say about this movie, but it seemed like a really interesting movie to me. But I'm not a big fan of Star Trek, like I said. But I watched it for the first time. But I thought the movie was so intriguing because the casting was very intriguing, and I know it's for the one last time part.
Yeah.
For the next generation. I think that was a one
Yes.
last time situation.
Yeah.
One last time part. Reason why I say this because I think that's their last movie together.
Yes.
I would say, but this movie could have been better. It could have been in the box office. It could have been the Rotten Tomatoes could have been great, good, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it could be people actually. But in fact, Eli, people can be real shitty on the. Well, actually, I'm sorry. The critics can be shitty at times.
Yeah.
It can be tough. Depending on the film, is it bad for them or good? In some people will say it was corny, terrible. When I first saw it, I thought it was intriguing, but it was a good movie. I liked it.
Yes.
I was pretty much pleased about the film, but I thought Whoopi Goldberg could have come back, but she's doing a lot of movies now, and she's an Oscar winner, but she's doing a lot of films and stuff like that.
Yeah, but from what I heard, like, of course, she'll be back for season 2 of Picard, so
hopefully,
yeah, she will be.
Getting back what I was gonna say, my friend. But I think this movie is one of Paramount 90th anniversary's last movies before 2003. But it's so sad that the Paramount Pictures 90th anniversary has to come to an end. But I grew up watching the studio, but I love the 90th anniversary logo of Paramount Pictures, and in my heart, I love Paramount, and Star Trek is part of the Paramount Pictures family. And for Star Trek Nemesis, it was a good movie. I liked it. I didn't like it a lot, but I liked the film. I thought it was cool. You know? It was interesting. It was very interesting.
And how do we rate Star Trek Nemesis?
Lord have mercy. I would say 3. 3 not 3 stars, but 3.5. 3.5.
Okay, and as for me, I don't care. I am giving this a 10 out of 10, because again, it's my favorite Star Trek film. I enjoy it, and yeah, there you go. That's what I said.
I respect your opinion, dude.
That's all I have to say about it. So, thank you very much, Elijah, for joining me, and for the Star Trek Marathon, reviewing Star Trek Nemesis.
Thank you for having me as your guest host. Guest host or guest friend,
Yes. Yep.
Or guest person, guest star.
Yes.
I would say guest star,
Yes,
Thanks.
of course.
Anyway, I'm going to start this over. Thank you for having me as your guest star in the Star Trek universe. Because I remember this movie very well when I was young. And it's not a bad movie, though, I would say.
No, it's not. And as we were saying about the film. So, that's that. He gives it 3.5 stars. I give it a 10 out of 10. You guys let us know what you think of Star Trek Nemesis, what you thought of our review. Leave comments and give this review a like as always. And any last words and saying goodbye?
Well, I would have to say, I know Star Trek is a great movie. Well, Star Trek Nemesis was a good movie, but I would have to say stay safe and watch some more films when you get a chance, and enjoy your holidays and a Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, because again, you're watching this in the middle of January, so So Happy late New Year, I guess you could say, because of as you're watching this. So again, this has been our review of Star Trek Nemesis, and stay tuned. Let me see. Yeah, later in the day, later tonight, where I will be reviewing the first of the Kelvin timeline of Star Trek and directed by J.J. Abrams. So, again, this has been me and Elijah reviewing Star Trek Nemesis. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next video/review. And the Star Trek Marathon is still continuing. Take care, peace out, and make it so.